With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
JCPenney es la parada más inteligente este regreso a clases, con más moda y miles de ofertas por menos de $20. Encuentra lo que tus niños necesitan y vístelos de pies a cabeza, de mochilas a medias, de polos escolares a puma y de camisetas a cortes de cabello. Para los universitarios encontrarás de cargos a crop tops, de sudaderas a salón de belleza, de pantalones a perfumes y de toallas a tostadoras. Esta es tu única parada este regreso a clases. JCPenney, vale la pena. Ofertas válidas hasta el 28 de julio.
Welcome to the Dragon's Lair podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Dragon's Lair podcast. I'm Jamie and joining me as always is Gavin Thomas. How are you doing, Gav?
Well, it's very recently that we last spoke, but still doing well, Jamie. Still bumbling along in the world of grassroots rugby.
Excellent. We had some really good feedback, by the way, on the Reece Blumberg pod. A lot of people got in touch to say how much they enjoyed it. So, I'd like to thank everyone for their comments and feedback on that one. And just a reminder before we start that you can find us in all the usual places, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and don't forget to follow us on our social media channels, Facebook and X. Okay, so we have another special guest for you this week, a former front rower who spent 9 seasons at the Dragons and made 149 appearances for the club. Throughout his time with the men at Gwent, he made appearances for clubs such as Ebbw Bedwas, Pontypool, Crosskeys and Newport. So what's he up to these days? Well, these days he's Swansea RFC's head coach, he's academy skills coach at the Ospreys, and he's rugby performance manager for Swansea University as well. Fair play, he's a busy bloke, mind, isn't he? How's he got the time to do this? I don't know. But let's ask him anyway. Welcome to the pod, Hugh Gustafson. How are you doing, Hugh?
Hey, nice to speak to you both. Privilege to be on. I've seen Steve Jones on there, waiting for my call. We've had
Jabba on. Yeah.
Waiting for Jabba. I beat Jabba for cake and coffee and my call. No, yeah, it's a privilege to be on. Thank you for offering me to come on.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. So let's start at the beginning then, as we do with all our guests who play pro rugby. Tell us about your journey into rugby. How and where did it begin?
Well, I started in Tumble RFC, so it's probably in the 10s. There was no tag rugby back in the day, so it was just straight into the boys in my school. There's only about 4 boys in my school live in a rural village in Wales. Picked up, my brother played rugby for Tumble, ended up playing for Neath for a while, and then before he went up to England to play, and then he's full-time now as a physiotherapist. But I started at a young age with Tumble, and I went through Tumble then, played schoolboy rugby for Mynydd Mawr, went through to West Wales, A's and B's, and all that, went through then, carried on through Tumble to a certain age, and then got picked up by Scarlett's Academy. Well, I played for Llanelli under 18s at the time before any regional rugby. Was in a year before regional rugby. Then went to Scarlett's under 18s, called an academy. Journey Wales under 18s, Wales youth. First ever Wales, when I joined youth and schoolboys together, first ever 18s captain, did 20s, 21s finished by the time I went to 21s. After Scarlett's, there was an opportunity where I finished as captain for Wales, and Lee Jones was head coach, and Reece. And there's an opportunity for me to... Wayne Jones was there as well, his brother. So opportunity for me maybe to change, kind of been in the West Wales for so long, opportunities there were quite limited with the depth of chat with Iestyn Thomas. There's some really good props down there. I probably had to buy my time a bit longer than other players. So an opportunity to move on, and I thought the Dragons being probably depth chat wise Adam Black at the time. I know but I could maybe work my way in, and had opportunities being a die, to go in. And I loved it, being there for 9 years, and at the end there was an opportunity for me to change scenery and kind of look at my journey after rugby as well. So I looked into that as well. When I was hard decision to make, it was quite tough time, some really good times, some tough times with the Dragons, but a decision to move on, and with an opportunity to go into coaching probably more, and my role changing as a player, as more of a leader, not playing as often, but kind of understanding my role with Steve Tandy, direction he wanted me to go with the younger guys. But I loved every minute of it, and I've had some amazing times with the Dragons at a young age, and I've met some fantastic people, and we've gone through a lot of tough times. The fans have been there with us, and it was a really tough time. But then some epic adventures and epic wins as well on the way.
Oh, excellent. So you made your Dragons debut against the Scarlets, wasn't it, back in 2007?
Yeah.
What are your memories from that day? Can you remember much about it?
I couldn't wait to play. I've been, well, my father and myself used to go, and my brother, who was a ticket holder. My grandmother, rest in peace, she used to live literally 2 minute walk from Shrine Park. So I was a Swansea RFC fan for a long time, watching the rugby and playing there as a junior in the region, and now actually playing as opposition and actually winning that game as well. It was quite exciting. I remember coming off the bench, and those days there was only one prop cover, wasn't two. So I was, so I was there and playing. I remember Jabba and tying people's laces in a full game, and Andy Williams and 9, and and have that win as well. It was quite a special moment.
Oh, great stuff. So you made your name at Ronnie Parade for being a dependable front rower, and you arrived at the Dragons as a prop. But then in 2012, you converted to hooker. So I'm just wondering, how did that switch come about? Was that something that the coaches suggested for you, or was that something you just fancy trying something different? Or
no, the coaches exactly, because the way I was playing, I was quite impactful, my ball carrying and my skills, but I wasn't the biggest guy. I wasn't hitting 120 kilograms. I wasn't that heavy where the scrum was changing. I remember playing against, I think it was Calvisano, it was like Italian team, and I made a line break with a few tackles, a couple of jackals off the bench, and they thought I was quite dynamic as I was, and they asked me, well, would you be able to play both? I think they also saved money and have 2 players for one. So it's a tough place to be at a late age of career, but I thought, no, give it a go, and always learn from my mistakes and try to get better from it, and being Mr. Dependable there, I just give it a go. And having people like Steve Jones, who I was close mates with, and I respect Jabba more than anything in the world, and him helping me, and Sadoli as well, Rob Sadoli helping me, and those one-to-ones at the end of sessions, and those guys, I always be thankful for giving me the opportunity to practice with extra reps.
So in terms of propping, Hugh, do you think the role of prop has changed in the time you've been playing and coaching?
Yeah, it did go through a stage with a hit and the size of people. I remember playing Sheridan, John Hayes, these people, and it's changed now almost full circle. I'd probably be better off being my size was back then, where we didn't have it was a hit, the old fashioned, gone through so many different variations of scrum setups to now, but now it's almost a small hit. It's all been compactful, and so it's changed huge now. The game has. I remember playing at Sheridan for Sale, who's played there, and a few John Hayes for Munster, a few big men. Yeah. With the hit, even Adam Jones bomb playing against the Ospreys, when he used to have a hit, him, Duncan, Adam, Hibbard, who's hard to take sometimes, the hit, but now the hit's gone away. It's almost a pre-engaged shunt. That probably height and size, not a huge thing. I mean, it's been powerful in that position.
So what do you think the key to scrummaging then is now? Because like you say, your bomb was probably the best at that period, because he did that initial hit he did with such force, didn't he? He kind of took away any potential sting. So how are you winning the battle now as a front rower?
Look, size still wins. Just Africa. Not huge for height. Look at the front row. They're not huge 6'4" props. They're quite stocky and powerful. It's having that force, but having a back five that 125, 135k it does help. But being probably powerful in a short distance. Before, when you didn't have a bind, you could just touch and ready to be explosive and be long over the space. Being now compactful and powerful in a small space and holding that shape, being strong in a short position. Because the scrums now almost a predetermined squeeze and then be explosive before you win the hit, you win the mark, and you can over top of people. But now you can't be too powerful. You can't go across the mark too early. You watch that South Africa documentary, how powerful they are in a short distance, being very explosive. But look at the size of them. They are wide as they as tall. They're not 6'5", 6'6". They are 6 foot, if that's 6'1" maybe. They're all powerful short men.
Do you think the importance of the bind has shifted as well? Because I can remember kind of playing front row where, it was about having that long bind and then as quickly as you possibly could get under the armpit and yanking them in. But that doesn't happen as much now, does it? That kind of binds. It's
probably been powerful with scaps as well, as Lou said now, because the top tightness only bind your arm. You have to be powerful enough with your bind or your scaps, your elbows high. Some refs not sure what's going on because they're not on the front row, but they have clear picture to see, like a 90-degree elbow. So you're looking at certain pictures. You can still get away with some dark arts in it. Jabba can tell you, and a few others can tell you, but it's being strong in that position for 8 seconds plus. Being able to look, some of these guys are so strong now. Then years ago, some of these academy players walking around squatting, and they're phenomenal athletes. And being strong in that position for 8 seconds is going to be huge. That tension building on the bind. So the bind, you could win a scrum on the bind. By transferring a bit of weight and being clever about where you bind and make people feel uncomfortable. Because before you hit and you catch people uncomfortable, but now you're going to make people feel really uncomfortable on the bind and close the gap and certain scrums. But it's all about how can you get in that shape the quickest on the bind and be more comfortable. But before it would be literally crouch, touch, engage, and you have Adam Jones back of your neck into the hole, and they chase the ref would allow it. And the scrum has changed so much now. One for safety and one for clear pictures, and it was like crouch, touch, hold, pause, engage. So many different rule variations. It's been time, and people's legs used to shake before the pause and then collapse the scrum anyway. So, but I think being strong in that short position for 8 seconds and being really strong with your back and your legs, and that's where the power comes from. And like I said, South Africa are probably the best at the moment.
Yeah, they certainly do. So when you was at the Dragons, you played under various head coaches, didn't you? Played under Paul Turner, Darren Edwards, Lynn Jones. Who did you particularly enjoy working with out of those head coaches? And were there any sort of support staff there that you enjoyed working with and learning from?
Like, I think they're all different variations of, you pick up different things with different coaches, and like as a coach you probably mimic and you don't realize you're doing it. No, Paul Turner probably had the most memory of rugby games and things you probably don't really see. And he knew players and he knew players' habits. He knew opposition. He must have watched so much rugby in his off time that he knew everybody and anything about rugby. Passionate Gwent man as well.
Hell of a player back in the day, Paul Turner. Before my time, I must admit, but he was a very good player.
I've seen some clips. Newbridge, would he play for
Yeah.
And Newport.
And Newport, yeah.
I remember him playing. He was excellent.
Excellent. Like he was a fun. You see him drop goal in of his fun. He pull Jason Tubby aside and go, watch this, Jason, and he drop kicks and dribble kicks.
So as a West Walian who you disagree with me, but I always thought he should have been the Wells 10 instead of Jonathan Davis. Slight bit of Gwent bias, possibly.
I thought you would say Costello, and I think Paul's too old for that. No, but like I've seen clips of Paul, and like I said, he's been tasked with playing a true good man of Gwent. He knew a lot of people, and people knew him, and and some stuff we created when he was there was really some fantastic wins. And and Paul would say stuff to you, and you think, how do you remember that? There's detail for the game. But when at one stage I was there, when Lynn Jones came under Paul as a skills coach when he left the Ospreys, Lynn for a bit. I learned a lot from Lynn then. He came back then. Colin Travis, at one stage he was a player coach. He came across Colin.
That's right, yeah.
I learned a lot from Dan Edwards when he was a skills coach. Learned a lot from Darren. I thought he was a really good skills coach. Different when he's head coach then. Things change. Learned a lot from Danny Wilson, something I didn't agree with, but agreed with some of the stuff he said. And Lee Jones, the psychology of the game. He used to say stuff to me and I just go, wow, I have to go home and have a cry, I think, about that. But fantastic. I look where he is now, what he did with Leicester, he went to Japan. Like, I think Lee gets on a bit sometimes, Lee Jones. His brother Wayne as well, I did at the academy. I took a lot from all different coaches. They all had probably different things we took from each other. Some coaches you switch on and think, I really buy in. The next coach come in. Only issue with the Dragons, when you had rapport, the next coach would come in and you kind of go, right, that's a new guy, we've got to learn a new system, and it changed quite often. And I think Paul was my longest coach I was under. Yeah,
good stuff. Yeah, he was a good coach, wasn't he, Paul? And I think people forget, I know it's been some tough years at the Dragons, but when you look back, the Dragons did not have the resources that they got now. And to be fair, you guys, you punched above your weight because you didn't have a proper gym, did you? You was training in the cabbage patch and you didn't have the facilities, but you still managed to be competitive, more competitive than what we've been in recent years.
Sometimes the joke was bring a bag and fill up with everything. We didn't know where we were, where we're going to and what facility we're going to have. So sometimes we're down to Spitty and then we drive then to the gym. the gym then didn't have any heating, so when the boys had a gas cylinder and heated up the gym, and then we had a because we could kill everyone with a gas leak, so we put that out. We'd wear gloves. So in the winter, we'd wear gloves in the gym and a hoodie at the bench because the bars were so cold.
Oh gosh.
When they knocked down the gym for the Bisley stand, we had to go underneath a facility, and Luke Charles couldn't even squat to stand underneath. So I remember playing on the cabbage patch in the summer. You break your legs, it's so hard. In the winter, you drown. So on that cabbage patch. But one thing, when I was at the first ball, the boys would say, "Look, we don't care what they've got 4Gs, we're you. And if we can train in this and we're tight as a group, the Jamie Ringers, the Adam Blacks, the Steve Jones, the Rhys Thomases, Luke Charles, the Michael Owens, you can name them all. Andy Williams, Kay Sweeney, look at that. Those guys were like, "Don't mourn, be privileged to be here, and we're tight and as a group." But sometimes we lose a game, but it was competitive, and the boys would say, "Look, if we're going to go, we're going to go dying." And they actually trained the guys well. I remember many times we've gone in training session, it's full blown, and and it sounds silly, I used to love going to training, even if I didn't get picked, or I was on the bench most of the time. I love being on those guys who learn so much, but also they wanted to be there and made you want to be there and fight for something. Yeah. And I thought it was fantastic. One of my first couple of years with those lads, it was kind of a die-hard kind of atmosphere of, we've got nothing, but we make sure they know about it when they turn up the Rodney Parade.
As a coach now, Hugh, is that what you want from players? Do you want players who are there and just busting their gut in training?
Look, rugby's a pretty ugly game, let's be honest. We can't have pretty rugby in Wales at the moment, but it's August now, and I went at the bottom of mine Tuesday night, it was fog and rain. It was August. If you don't want to be there, there's going to be a problem eventually. We've got to have people who want to be rugby players and want to play hard and want to play some rugby, but they have to be happy and comfortable. We've got to understand the 4G and the gym, it is nice, it is there, because we've got to support our players. Look at these athletes we're producing with the right atmosphere, but rugby is ugly, it's not nice. You've got to remember that you've got to put your body in the line and a cause. That it's not multi-million-pound like football players. Like, I would love to be a reserve goalkeeper. Amount of times I benched for the Dragons, but I wish I had a goalkeeper's money. But we've got to realise as well that it is physical, it is dangerous. We've got to look after each other. We are going to put our bodies on the line, and we're going to do that. But how are we going to recover afterwards? We can't just think, right, next day, get up, let's do another session. It's how we periodise the session, look after our players, but they've got to be committed to something. That could be anything. That could be for the university, playing varsity. That's to beat Cardiff. That's for the best regions. You've got to have something to play for, and you've got to be tight as a group. And when you haven't got that, it is difficult to motivate people. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, we had a couple of listeners' questions. First one from the Ronnie Rowe fan account. You've mentioned a few of them already, but he said, who are your favourite teammate, or were your favourite teammates at the Dragons?
Like Jabba's one of them. I thought Lewis watching Jabba, the dark arts, the guy's so funny. He never lost touch rugby. He's phenomenal touch rugby player, tough guy for his size. Like, people don't underestimate Jabba as one of the best players I played with as a rugby player. I came through with Dan Lydiard, so me and Dan Lydiard were kind of housemates, and we played through our first couple of starts together. The night he broke his neck, we were there.
Remember that.
Yeah, in Perpignan. So I've gone through a lot with Dan at the time. Like Luke Charters, learned so much. Shadoli, like there's some guys there, like even Rhys Thomas, as much as mad he was, he learned so much scrummaging, but he was a madman, and I know he's found lifestyle now, but he was great. Adam Black as a team bloke, as just learned a lot as how we got the team together, made sure everyone was collected. Jamie Ringer, how mad he was and how competitive in training he was, made sure we push each other.
He's been on the pod as well, too. We've had Ringer on. He was a good guest when he gave.
He was, yeah.
I remember Jamie Ringer trying to ruck me in trainers on the cabbage patch. Trying to stamp on me as a bit of an eye-opener when the trainers on, and just being competitive. Just if I'm going to play for the Dragons or play any jersey on, I'm going to give everything I got, and if that's me coming off at times, I'm drained. Michael Owen, what a quiet guy, but a fantastic rugby player. Probably the likes of my age group was Shanksy, Lewis Evans.
Yeah.
Shanksy, Ash Smith.
Yeah.
Tuvey. Those kind of group of guys we were quite tight to. We came through a young age, played quite a lot of rugby at a young age, and we've come right through together then. I played with Shanksy and Dan for the age grade against each other for regional when I played for Scars Rag, and they played for Dragons Rag, and known each other for age groups for a long time.
And Lydiat's still going, of course.
Yeah, he's still there. He's got another year of Dragons. No, not just having the guy around the place. I don't know how he's physically feeling now, but the history he's played in, the games he's played in, the volume of rugby, the intensity, the history of Lions, Grand Slam winning player, because he's been last few years injured, come back, injured, the stuff he knows is people will never learn in a lifetime. So to have him in that young back row, they've got the Dragons now, he's fantastic to have around. Even if he said he's not plays off things the young guys, but having him there and help develop them is going to be a huge learning curve for those young back rowers.
It's interesting you talking about Dan Lydiat as well, because I think he's the most underrated player of the Gatland era. Because people talk about Tips and they'll talk about kind of Warburton and all these players, but Lydiat just put in a shift, and he was a workhorse.
Well, the back was so balanced.
Yeah.
That Toby could do his thing when Dan was there, and Sam could do his thing because they all did something for each other. I think when that balance was so good, he doesn't get seen. Without a Grand Slam when they beat France, I think it was Dan had man of the match. I was there. I went to watch him, and I went out for food. And I made a free Wagamama's. I remember that day. He won the Grand Slam. The next day, went for Wagamama's, and he get the chef gave us free food because he had his Grand Slam. But that game, all he did was tackle.
Yeah.
France playing, and then Warburton could throw the ball down, and Toby could free the carry. And I thought the balance of Gatland's team, the way he wanted to play, and that team he picked suited the way, and they all bounced off each other.
As a coach, then, is that what you want from a six? I'm very old-fashioned, and I think sixers should just tackle people and not do a lot else. What do you think for a back row? What's the right balance for a back row?
If you've got a checkbook, you do what you want.
Yeah, that's true.
It is where you play at the moment in university. I've got 2 seconds, 123 kilograms, 118 kilograms. So I need my six to jump.
Yeah.
Because my seconds are not as powerful.
But you're not getting those up in the air.
They do get off the air. They do get off the air, but the six has been like they will get off the air. So I think in probably semi-pro, depending on what club and how much money you've got, it's different now than you Super Rugby Cymru League. It's balance and what you can recruit and what you can retain in university and what you can work around. If you've got a checkbook, it's where you want to play. If I want to, at the moment, in South Africa, you should pick the biggest pack. You do that. As a coach, you've got your own stance and you've got your own standards and how you want to do something, but also the players have to fit into it. And if you've got round pegs, you can't shove them in square holes. You've got to kind of curve them and mould them and help each other. But I think it just all depends on your balance. If you've got someone like Tiprick and you mix it up with number 8 with the ball carrier and you mix it with a 6 foot. So it all depends on the team you've got, ideally. But in Wales, we haven't got a back row of 120k number 8 and 120k number 7, like that. We'll just bully physical teams. But that suits them. They couldn't put another player from Wales into that fit in that mould. It's different. So I'm saying it's like, for us, we've got to work on the best team we've got and work around how we're going to play and how they suit at the same time.
Well, why do you think then, I've asked this of other people who've been on the pod, why do you think then we don't have a crop of big physical back rowers in Wales? We've got lighter guys, and
you got 1 or 2 like Fender coming around the place. You've got Ben Carter. There's 1 or 2, but we're a small nation. Let's not forget that England have a player pool twice the size, almost 3. South Africa got a bigger player pool and genetically. So we've got a Fender, we've got a Ben Carter, we've got people around the place, but not everyone that size, and that's what we've got to realise, that we're not going to build or breed that many. You'll have 1 or 2 in another generation that come through from academy, you'll have another 2 again, but we're not going to have 8 or 9 every year, these size players.
It's the same with back row players as well, aren't it? We don't have big physical back rows, do we?
No, like I think the last time we had a massive number 8 was Scott Quinnell.
Yeah.
I can think of playing generation. I don't think we've had another big number 8 like him for a long time.
Moriarty, I suppose, but he's a bit more of a hybrid, isn't he?
Hybrid, yeah. But an out-and-out big number 8, I think it was Scott. I don't think anyone in Wales was that big at the time.
No.
So it does come in a generation. You might in 2 years' time see an 18s player coming through. You look at 20s, a couple of big boys in the 20s. Like, for example, Morgan Morse, the kid is coming through. He's not a monster, but he's a fantastic rugby player. That's how you play him.
Yeah, Ryan Woodman at Dragons as well.
He's a fantastic player as well. So there's players there, but we can't put ourselves and look at South Africa and go, West Africa, let's find the biggest guys because we're going to be waiting generations. And like I said, Ben Carter, Matthew Screech, they're not small guys.
No.
Fender's not a small guy. James Rat, he's not a small guy. You name these players, there's some big guys in the regions, but they're not 6'9", 6'8", like a Luke Charteris. Luke Charteris was a massive man. People didn't realize how heavy he was. They thought he was too slight. He was over 125k. He was a massive man, Luke
It
Charteris.
always amazed me how people would get him up in the line because he was like it looked like a crane.
I think it was in the World Cup and he hit like 28 rucks and tackled 18 people in one game in South Africa, and people said, "Oh, he didn't do much." But then, like, he's not ball carrier. Like, he's been horses, of course. And Luke was a fantastic player, and he was a knock off the Dragons when he was there.
Yeah,
I think if people don't know the game particularly well, I think stuff that Luke Charteris does that Dan Lydiate does, doesn't get picked up, does it? You know, it's.
It goes back when you appreciate as a player and probably as someone who knows the game, you appreciate the unseen work to get this quick ball, to win rucks, to win collisions. They put their body on the line, and like you see Dan's face and his body, how many ops he's done is because he's actually committed so much of his body to the cause. And he probably wish he was a bit more of a tip break so he could save his body a bit. But they all, like, look for me, all the players in every game, people don't realise in the region, put their bodies on the line. If that's any jersey, the boys are phenomenal. And especially now, I was not very lucky, maybe lucky not to go against the South Africans that often. I never played them. So I see them down when they come down and use the university facilities. They are massive men. And the boys are hitting them on a regular basis. And you think to themselves, fair dues to those boys. Like I don't think I could have done it or would have lasted as long as the South Africans came into the league earlier.
No, absolutely. You touched on scrummaging earlier. This is an interesting question. This is from Alid. He gets in touch with us via Facebook. He's asking, when it comes to scrummaging, is it more important to have a strong front row than a second or back row, or can bulky, stronger locks and back rowers compensate for a weak front row? What would you say to that, Hugh? How important is it to have a strong front row and the back row and second row?
It is an 8-man scrum. You can't have one or the other, but if you can't have a platform to push on, so if you haven't got a front row that's stable enough or strong enough, you don't matter what weight's going, it could be going somewhere. So I would say you probably need a strong front row, not the whole scrum, because you could have the 3 British Lions and you could have a terrible back 5. You still get pushed over. So it is, you can't blame one without the other. But I would say you can't have a 150k second row pushing on a pillow. So you need kind of a stable platform to build that tension, to have that weight transfer. So I would say to build a scrum, you need that front row first, and then you need the back 5 to help out then.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay. John gets in touch as well, also via Facebook, and he asks what Hugh thinks about the on and off field changes at the Dragons and if they will have better seasons going forward. I know you're an Osprey now, Hugh, and you've got a lot going on, but have you been keeping abreast of what's happening at the Dragons with all the changes and everything?
Yeah, look, I keep an eye on a lot of rugby. Like, it's my life at the moment. Like, it's and I got look, I've been there for 9 years, and I was lucky. I get that it wasn't 10 years, but things changed and I had to go. But for me, like, we trained the Cabbage Patch. Let's be honest, there was nothing there when I was there. I came then when the Shermanach deal was there. I was there for 2 years with the Shermanach. It is fun. Having the ownership and kind of changing the way the route, the plan, having kind of the success. One thing I felt, we got rid of a lot of people quite quickly. A lot of history there that if you look at the Dragons, who's the longest serving player there, and where's the history? And I feel like some of the regions keep probably 1 or 2 players on to transition them because they know the history of the club or the region, and they know what makes things tick. And if you keep evolving so much, you don't become the same thing. And when you start evolving, and you need some, not history, but someone who's been there through the tough times, or someone's been there or transitioned to a coach, or someone's got the understanding of what the region is. And but I think they're going in the right direction. I think it's tough for all regions. It's to be honest, like it's very tough for all the regions, and we've got to support them. And you look at the wage caps, the salary caps, and look at the young players that are coming through so quickly that they wouldn't be there that quick. They probably would have a few years in the Welsh Prem, the Championship, and the Super Rugby Cymru. Now they're benching regional rugby because we haven't got enough depth in the squad. No matter what team or what badge, I think we've got to support the whole region as much as we can.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can all get behind that message. Let's talk about the current state of Welsh Rugby then. So this is where it gets a little bit doom and gloom, I'm afraid. But I think it is an important topic to cover. So it's fair to say the Welsh rugby's in a difficult place right now, on and off the field. We saw Wales pick up the wooden spoon in the Six Nations, and they've lost 9 tests in a row. We've now fallen out of the top 10 in the world rankings. The Welsh teams are struggling to be competitive in URC, with the exception of the Ospreys, of course. Credit to Toby Booth, did a brilliant job there against all the odds, but as a whole, they are struggling. Grassroots participation numbers are falling. Some clubs, as you know, is struggling to put a team out on the field. So what do you make of the game in Wales at the moment, Hugh? Are you hopeful the Welsh rugby can bounce back from this really difficult period we find ourselves in?
We're in a trough right now.
Yeah.
I think COVID's killed a lot of things. Let's be honest. I'm not blaming one person. COVID's hurt a lot of the industry, and it's hurt not just our industry, business sectors, everything's closing. The cost of living's going through the roof. The games on TV, I'm not going to watch the game. Some people can't afford a ticket. It is a lot of things have changed. Can't put one finger on it. Grassroots, I found coaching grassroots difficult when people start paying money for one club, the other, often £50 a year, £40 a year, and it becomes a love a game, becomes gone. And we have to go back to how do we find the love for the game again. I think we've lost the love. There's so much negativity about everything at the moment, and then you just said that you've let all those stats out, there's nothing positive, and we've become quite negative as a nation. I think personally, like, that goes to players as well. That people say he's not good enough, or he's not good enough, or he should be doing that, and it becomes a bit. I think I find I don't know if we're Welsh, but find doom and gloom more exciting for us than a positive note.
That's a Welsh thing, isn't it? We are synonymous with doom and gloom. We love it.
We could find the best rugby 20s player, but he's not Gavin Henderson. Or we find someone else who's not as strong as him, and he's not good enough. And then become quite insular as a region. Like, my region's better now, we're playing, and there's too many Cardiff players, there's too many not him, and there's one, and I hope one region goes away. I just find sometimes we've got to go back to loving rugby and love playing rugby. And it sounds crazy. I think that's what's happened. I find that we find negativity the best thing. And I mean, we can't wait for someone to be. We're looking for a player's downfall or a region's downfall. I think when the fourth might go. Yes, I hope it's not. I hope it's so and so. I hope he goes. Well, there's a business going away where people's livelihoods go in. We're not going to find a region, and people are loving it. And I think I see Twitter then, and people jump on a bandwagon, can't wait for the doom and gloom. And I think to myself, this push, this speaks. Okay, we're not winning now. Let's get out the top 10. Let's get into the top 8. Let's be excited to push on. Let's be excited for the new talent. Let's be excited for the new Ospreys of a new stadium and have a packed stadium. Let's be excited for the Dragons to do well. Let's get the Scars back. I find sometimes we're just so doom and gloom about the agenda.
That's always been there. I'm old, so I remember the days pre-internet, and and there was always a bloke would be at the bar in the rugby club saying, "Oh, why are they picking in money? He's rubbish, look." but you'd always say, "Oh, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about." But now there's so many of them, and they're amplified by Twitter. You can't tell them just to shut up and get on with their beer.
I'm not saying no one have opinion, but you keep talking negativity. When's the positive you're going to find out? Because we become so numb to negativity because this is happening again. But I think we're in a trough now. They've decided a new league, Super Rugby Cymru. This is why the budget threshold. We're trying to get the young guys playing. We're trying to get many minutes as possible. Spoke to the referees. They're trying to speed the game up. They're trying some exciting stuff. Let this be. The budget and the leagues will be rubbish now. Someone said there's only be 10 games the boys going to play, and no one's going to watch our league. And it's just like, come on now, let's just back something. Let's try something new. Let's be excited for some challenge. Let's just be us. Let's just put a brand out there. Let's be excited about something. And I find as soon as we, as a collective, you can have opinion, but as soon as we can be strong as a collective, and I think the region are showing that they're the PR people. They're trying to be as tight as a group that we can fight for something and push for a cause, and if that's just starting a new league now with Super Rugby Cymru and get a few new guys playing and then having that open day in St Helens, pushing that brand for the Ospreys, and we had fans watching the university training against the Ospreys and seeing new faces down there because of Bouncy Castle, but they're there to watch rugby as well, and changing rugby just from a game to an event. I don't know. Let's just try to be excited about something like it rains so much in Wales. I can't be handled being wet and then reading bad news and getting a bit I'm trying to be positive, and it is doom and gloom sometimes. You can't hide away from what we've gone through as a nation.
No, you can't.
But we can see some silver linings from it. The women's game is changing. Like the new league is happening. They've changed the league for a change, and there's new things can be exciting. 20s, okay. We're not having enough overseas players, or we're not breeding enough senior players. But look at these young 20s guys who are going to Woodman or Morse. Doing these guys are playing through the skin, and they're going to break through, and they're going to be a future. Like that's maybe I'm just too positive. Like
no,
it's nice to have positivity.
No,
I think in Welsh rugby, there's not enough of it. And you're right, it is a Welsh thing, though, isn't it, to be so negative? But sorry, Gav, go on.
Well, and I think part of the issue, and this isn't just a Wales thing, because I'm involved in the community game in England. That the problem is the idea that you would grow up kind of idolizing whoever played for your village or your town or wherever, and then your ambition wouldn't be, oh well, I hope I get a professional contract. It'd be, well, I want to play for Tumble or Ebervale or Tredegar or wherever you grow up. And we've lost that now, and we see it in the English game as well, that there's not much loyalty. And I am involved at a very low level, but there's not even much loyalty at the very low level that I'm involved with. And players will shift around, to whoever will pay the biggest expenses for training and ever. And I think it's just become more of a business. And you sound like a rugby romantic in the same way I am. I still love the game. And the kind of mud and blood of it all. And I think if we get back to that, realizing what rugby is, it's just one of the purest sports in terms of physical competition, and I love it for that.
I think I'm so happy. Like the Tumble Rugby, if you go through the whole junior section, you play seniors, you have a special tying cap. So you haven't left the club, you've gone straight to the juniors, and you have a senior cap, and you have a different cap and a different tie because you've committed a cause to the club. And look, there's things that people, cost of living. I know some boys would rather work a shift on a Saturday and play because they've got to pay the bill.
Yeah.
Like, we can't take away from the cost of living, and people are like, oh, you've got to play a game. So, well, I can earn more couple £100 doing a shift and put myself on call and I'm playing a game of rugby. And we got to see where we are since COVID, that money now is so tight to some people, equipment for some kids. Like, we've got to understand that it costs subs, equipment, kit. Some people can't afford that, and we've got to kind of make rugby a beautiful game, that how we support these people. And like I said, you can't have a go at someone and go, I'm going to take a call, I'm going to go on call this weekend to pay my bills. And I think the cost of living is putting a huge strain on us as a nation. And then you see the counteract of people not playing Saturday, or I'm not going to the club to play a game or have a pint because I'm not going to watch a game because I got to do a shift. Or I think it's not just rugby. I think it's us as a nation at the minute. We're all UK at the minute, the cost of living, and it's quite tough. And we've got to be realistic there. But it's how we can support each other in the climate now.
Yeah, and I think COVID showed us there's other things you can do. And you don't necessarily have to be hauling yourself to some godforsaken bit of West Wales, East Sussex, Scottish Highlands, wherever you play rugby over a weekend. You can do other things.
Yeah, like I think that generation probably who were locked away and probably haven't got that love we've gone through. My generation, we've had 2-year break of sport, realistically. And as you said, there's the bigger things in rugby and football, or like I've kind of, and don't forget, football's taken over as a nation as well. Since we go forward, rugby my age, it wasn't much football in the area. Now football is more prominent in the areas than there's rugby. So we're a natural competitor.
Football was North Walian in my head. That's something that people in Wrexham did, or Llan did. No, it's not something you did in the valleys.
Well, for me, it was Swansea and Cardiff. Down West Wales is rugby, maybe a few village football games on Saturday, and a little bit now there's football camps, there's schoolboy football. There's my son's got in, the 6 years old, into a football schoolboy competition. He's 6, and I have to play kit and subs, but it's exciting. It's really good drills, and they have fun doing it. So we've got competitors now that we never had before as a nation in football, and now we've got to kind of adapt to it.
And there's other sports as well, and stuff like MMA and stuff. I know boys who left Welsh Rugby to go and do jiu-jitsu and things like that.
On a Wednesday and a Sunday, it's hard on your body. You have a feel of a combat sport, but actually you're not wrecking your body so much. And it's small things. And look, it's dementia coming out the woodwork now and collisions, and parents are a bit worried now. And it is so much things that happen in rugby at the moment that we've got to be self-aware what's outside this, what's happening, and things with people will change and trends will change. And hopefully this trough now will kind of rebuild, rebrand, and then come out of it again. We should be smart. When there is a peak, we've got to stay on that peak.
Yeah, I can remember the Welsh team in the 80s, so,
Yeah.
it does get better. I'm saying that to everyone, it does get better.
Like I used to play the Dragons, you're a Dragons fan, we know it's some tough times and it is some good, like...
Yes, we certainly know that.
Look, I put the jersey on, I've been in some tough games and some really fun, exciting games, but there is peaks and troughs. It's just how we stay loyal and how we work hard. And like I said, there is a lot of doom and gloom at the minute in the world, not just in rugby, and how we can how we spin the narrative and make it look. It's exciting, this new branding. It's exciting to see young players playing regional rugby. It's exciting how we go in. Okay, there's not much money, but obviously for young guys have a go. But then hopefully in 2 or 3 years' time, when rugby's got a bit of a boom again, then we can support with some quality overseas signings as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But there is a lot of negativity also around the URC, and this is something that we've spoken about on previous pods. A lot of people in Wales here, they're just not taken to the URC for whatever reason. Now, me and Gav think it's got its flaws, it certainly has, in terms of the travelling and the costs around that, but there's some brilliant, fantastic teams in this tournament. But people just then buying into it because they want this Anglo-Welsh League. They crave those fixtures against Bath, Bristol, Exeter, Gloucester. Is that something you would like to see? I feel like I asked this question to every guest to come on now, but how would you feel about the potential of Anglo-Welsh League?
I remember the LV Cup. I know it was a bit fun those away days, and I remember playing. It always Wales versus England. It always that's a mentality we've got, and it's English. And yet again, it's travel. We're going to fly to Italy every other weekend, or to Ireland, or to Scotland, to Italy. It's cost of living, and there's televised these days, so people aren't going to be watch a TV game at home. But if you say it's not televised, Bath versus Dragons in Rodney Parade, it's not televised. How many fans will come down and watch that and buy tickets?
They would, but my fear is I don't think the English clubs would allow that to happen. They want us in their game. Would you get a crowd from the Dragons versus Amptill would be my question. No, but like, do we? Like, there's so many different things, and we got as like I said, a national governing body. Do we go British Irish League and have a conference like America do? Do we have bring out Scotland and have half and half and have like Leinster versus Saracens versus Dragons? I mean, there's so many things, and URC, but like this. Can I be honest? There's figures of money there that's way above my head, and why they do it, and the reasons why. There's a reason why the URC is doing what they do, and there's a reason why things happen. As much as we want to go, we want to try this. There's a reason why, and it does some good games. It makes it tougher going away to playing the cheaters, going away to playing the Bulls or Sharks in South Africa, and have a learning and different experiments. But you won't have travelling fans, so. No. There's certain things, there's negatives, but anything you could say under everything. It's negatives and positives, everything. It's just the reason why we do it, and why we want it to happen, and how can we make it happen? And that's the question. And I think it's above my pay grade and way above other people. But like this, if we wanted to get out the URC, what would happen to Ireland and Scotland? Do they want to carry on? And there's few things that could happen. And you said there's got to be a plan of action and a plan in a few years' time. If it's going to move, do we have a world league or do we have a European? I mean, it's the things you can change massively. Do we bring France into it and have a conference in leagues and have a European league? But the French are loving life at the minute. The division in Div 1, and like Sammy Davis is playing now when he's on a full stadium and doing really well. So France don't really care. So the French teams don't really care because they're doing really well. So if the URC was doing really well and the regions are playing really well and we're winning stuff, would we moan and stay in the URC? It's just pros and cons at the minute where we're at, and there's a reason why the URC. There's people know why. It's above my pay grade. But like I said, if we won a Welsh Anglo League, what happened to British, Scottish and Irish? Are they going to carry on, or do they want to come into a different league? And it's not going to affect us. It's not going to affect a lot of teams and how they want to carry on, and they want to come into negotiations. So you have to wait and see. And like I said, there's stuff probably going in the background. We don't know what's happening. No one knows. I bet as a player, though, particularly as a front rower, you would have loved the opportunity to go out and play at the Loftus Versfeld. Or
yeah. Especially like I said, I don't think people out there now playing, and we're saying, wow, I don't think I watched these guys walk around the place, the Sharks, and they play the Scars without using our training venue, and I thought, I don't think I could cope. I remember playing against Bordeaux Beagle, and that's the biggest team. I played in Ronnie Braid with 150k tight head, with 150k second row, and I thought, oh my God, my body couldn't handle that after 2 days. Doing that for 2 weeks in a row out to South Africa, you're going to say to these boys, as much as they win or lose, how much they put their body on the line for the region, you've got to go against these teams. And I got to say, the boys out there are doing a fantastic job with what they've got, and I think to them, hats off to those boys, the regional boys.
Absolutely, fair play. Let's talk about Super Rugby coming next. You did touch on it earlier. So this is the new competition, which is designed to bridge the gap between the amateur and the pro game. Now, when this competition was first sort of put forward, the proposals, there was a negative reaction from some clubs, wasn't it? But how are you feeling about? Well, yeah, that's an understatement, isn't it? Neath, Ponty, etc.
Yes.
Are you excited about this new competition and do you think it's the right way to close that gap between semi-pro and pro rugby? How do you feel about this new competition going forward?
We got to be excited about it. There's something different. There's new rule changes. We're trying to support the referees. We're trying to speed the game up or reset scrums, allowing more jackals, like it's exciting. It's going to be there's a lot of investment about you. They've got to decide what they're going to do when they've made a decision. I agree on the 150 cap. The Swansea have always been one of the lowest, we're open about that before we take RFC, we don't pay the highest, but it stops people leaving Swansea to go play to drive an hour away to play for an extra £200. Local boys, and we have local Swansea boys playing and local Swansea coaches and other clubs as well. I know Abraham got the same lot, trying to push a lot of boys from Talbot into their club, but you notice that it takes away the lot of, I'm going to go there for £500, negotiate more with me, and I'm like, well, it's not about that. It's about playing rugby, to have the opportunity to play on TV, on S4C or Click, have an opportunity then to move on and play for your region, and hopefully get a Welsh Cup. And some boys will not carry on. Some boys will be Super Rugby company players and they love it, and some boys will have an opportunity to move on. But for me, it's the right way of doing it. Why are you playing rugby for and playing for the badge? The old playing for the badge is pretty wrong, but playing for a reason and not just money. And I think, the days have gone now of some clubs are still doing it below those Super Rugby Cymru, and we are strict. The WRU were strict with us. It's an ordering process that we have to do with payments and make sure that we don't go over our budget and targets we've got to hit as well. America. So this really a real professional league. We're trying to get to a professional league. Would I like more money? Everyone does. Every coach and every club will say that. But the reason why I'm doing it, I'm spot on with the WRU.
So do you think? No, I'll ask a different question actually. So you're going to be coaching in it, and there'll be people who don't know those players. Who are the clubs, who are the players and the clubs in Welsh or Super Rugby Cymru that you think, these are the ones to watch? Clearly Swansea, but
young team up there. Look, Cardiff always have the good youngsters. They've done it for a while. They put the young team through. Only thing with Cardiff, the inconsistency. Probably of 1 week they have a really good team, the next week they probably might not because of the players being pulled in and out. Newport, I think they haven't changed much this year. They had a fantastic team last year. Same for the Drovers. But I feel some of the clubs have got an aging profile, and they know that. So a few players will carry on for another year or two, and then they kind of have to transition. Some clubs have gone young early. I think Abraham's got a lot of young players ready to work with them for the next 3 years we're in the league. I think it's going to be exciting. I don't think it's going to be clear cut as what it has been in the past. I'll be honest, a franchise paying the most will win the most. It's like anything. Like Man City, you buy the most league, no matter what you say, you buy the best players, you're going to win. It is just money franchise. You can have your dogs. But then having a bit more easy playing field that people aren't going to jump ship for an extra £100 that because of travelling or the boys will work hard because they've got a bit of love for the club. I think it might be the best one out of the league.
Oh, no, I won't ask you to name anyone because it won't be fair. But have you got lads at Swansea who you think will be regional players in the next couple of years?
I've got some players who played regional rugby last year, and I think they're fantastic. Like Luca Giannini, like Josh Phillips at 10 from Ponty's come down. I think he's fantastic. I've got some really young players like Hasan Doe in the academy, been playing his rugby for us. Kean Haya is with us. Ben Roberts, second row, who's Welsh qualified. He's been in California Swans Uni. He's 6'7", 6'6", big man. Callum Dodd on the wing, 104k winger. He's massive, powerful guy. He's just qualified from the university. And what you see is a lot of rugby teams, rugby company teams, are signing university students for the Bucks League. They're qualified now, coming out of 21, 22, and they've had a really good program. So actually, they're really good athletes coming out who are qualified now. And it's very exciting. A couple of boys have gone to Newport. I've sent them to Newport. A couple of boys have gone to Aberava. And it's nice to see that, not just us, Cardiff Uni as well. Cardiff University have had a couple of players go across. So it's met that there's some players now are coming out of the Bucks League, going into the semi-pro league, and it is a pool of resource now to recruit from. So some really good young talent. Yes, they will make mistakes because they're not perfect and they're young, but hopefully the game will speed up and a lot of young guys are playing rugby and want to push this brand of rugby as well.
Okay. We have a question from an Osprey fan who contacted the show asking, Darren, his name is, what are your ambitions for Swansea RFC this season? I mean, you probably would like to win the competition, wouldn't you?
win Cup and League. No, like for me, like to win a few more games we did last year. I think we're consistent. I think we only had a squad of 19 signed, contracted. The money we had, we've got 32 signed now, so consistency is huge. I think that's huge for us. It's been consistent with the players, with the pool we had. With that, then we can breed, understanding and not swapping and changing. We got relationship building. I like to push the mid-table this year. I really do. I really want to push up then, get through then, and see where we go from there then.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to new competition. I think it's something new, it's fresh, and we had to do something, didn't we? Because I'm sure you agree with me, Hugh. The gap between semi-pro and pro URC, it was just too big, wasn't it? And I know this wasn't popular with a lot of clubs, but for me, the WRU had to act.
And the gap between the semi-pro clubs, you can see quickly a split of money.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That league is like last year. The Premiership was split in two essentially, wasn't it?
Most of the time it is.
Yeah, you had like everyone from Ebervale up was just operating at a very different level to the clubs below them.
Yeah. It is, and that's what you see now. It's a bit more. That's why they took a while. They audit the process and make sure everyone's got it in the right plan of action. We had to go through a lot of paperwork. Each club did to apply for it. It wasn't just tick a box, you're in. A lot of application were in, a lot of hard work from each club. And Swansea I didn't do much. I just signed a few documents for the club itself. Were fantastic and what their plan was for the club itself in the next 3 years, and it's exciting to be part of that journey for at least this year as it is.
Oh, good stuff. Okay, so let's end on this note then. So 9 years at the Dragons, you obviously had highs and lows. Any particular matches and memories that stand out for you during your time at Rodney Parade?
We beat the Ospreys in Rodney Parade. Yeah. It's when I went that line break and we beat the Ospreys and they had Jerry Collins, Lee Byrne, Ryan Jones.
Galacticos era.
I think it was me, Patrick Palmer, and Steve Jones. And that was a good memory. Beating Edinburgh away in the rain with Toby Farrow's debut game. I remember him playing his skull cap and his big afro wet, and he was phenomenal. Then I loved it. He's a phenomenal guy, top bloke as well.
I love a player.
Playing against Toulouse, boys beating. I was on the bench, but beating Stade Francais away from home. I think there's some games there, like going away to Treviso, spending enough time. We had Mogliano in the cup the week after. I remember staying out there for 2 weeks before Christmas. We were in Venice as a group and I think we lost Treviso, beat Mogliano in the cup. And there's a lot of ups and downs, but just spending time with good guys. And I used to love going to work. Came at the stage where it became a bit difficult to go in, but then at one stage I used to love going in, and asked me on the bench or not. I used to love being on those guys and the ethos of Dragons. And it was fantastic to be around. And I think people know we had those really tough times with Dragons, and we lost fans. We were poor at some stages, and we lost. And I remember just being privileged and made sure the boys knew that. A lot of people passing through the jersey, and we would make sure, even though I wasn't a man of Gwent, I felt proud of putting that jersey on, try to represent the region of Gwent, and I made sure when I put on any jerseys, I try to make sure I make sure the region, the history, and the proud. And I remember playing. I played for every feeder club for the Dragons. I played for Pontypool.
I listed some of them earlier. Yeah.
I remember one week I played for Pontypool. The week after I played for Crosskeys against Pontypool. It was crazy for stages. Bedwas a spot. I played for every part. So I am a true Westphalian, but who probably reflected more of a man of Gwent. Played for every club out there. So
we in the Gwent Valleys we build props as well. That was always our thing. So you're an adopted son of the Gwent Valleys, whether or not you want to be.
Yeah, but like I said, it's a massive privilege, and I know I haven't been on Rodney Parade for a while, but every time I go down there, it always brings a smile to my face. A couple of hearing stories from players, and it's it is a tough time for all regions, not just the Dragons, but I made sure there's a good history, and I'm proud to have represented the Dragons for 9 years and met some good friends and met some really good people there.
Oh, great stuff. Yeah. It's been really nice to hear you say that as well, because some players may not have that affection, for some of the clubs they play for, but you really did enjoy your time, didn't you, at Ronnie Parade, even though they were difficult times. You loved it.
I remember the fans went on stage to shout Goose for Sakari, and there's some stuff like fans after the game, and going back to the Bisley Lounge, but now in the new, and it wasn't really the clubhouse back in the day. You have to go to the club, walk up to the clubhouse, see family and friends, and you speak to fans, and no matter what, win or lose, fans would never turn on you too much, and they would talk to you afterwards, and they would treat you with respect as much as anybody else. So that's one thing I would say, that they have some good fans up there. They wouldn't kind of turn your back on you completely, and we make sure of that. But like I said, I spent 9 years up there. I lived in Newport for a couple of years. Still love the city when I go up there, and it's a nice place up there as well. But no, I said, I'm privileged to be on the podcast, and it's a true privilege to play for the Dragons for 9 years.
Brilliant stuff. Gav, anything else before we wrap up?
No, I think that's a perfect place to leave it.
It's a lovely place to end it, isn't it? Hugh, thank you so much for joining us. Like I say, I know you've got all these jobs going on, and time is pretty tricky through these days, so I'm glad you were able to join us and have a really good chat. It is much appreciated.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Gav, thank you as always, and thanks to you, the listener, for downloading this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back very soon with another special guest, but until then, take care and goodbye.
That was the Dragons Lair. Join us for more of the same next week, and in the meantime, please rate, review and share us on socials if you can. Until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.